Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is the Centrum Transista automatic Swedish portable radio that I discussed in an earlier video, which I'll link in the comments below. I have had a look at the schematics for this, and let me explain what the issue with this is. FM works fine, all 3 AM bands. So we can see what it does. It does shortwave, medium wave, and long wave. Don't really have any reasonable way of testing long wave here in Toronto, but it doesn't really matter. The main issue would be medium wave and shortwave. And as I said, FM is working fine. In the last video, I showed that in fact the FM tuner is entirely separate from the AM tuner. And the most likely issue here is that this is a radio dating, I would guess, from 1967. And, you know, the electrolytic capacitors are probably pretty gone. Now, as I said, I've had a look at the schematics, but they're in German. This is a German manufactured radio. I can't remember who the manufacturer is off the top of my head right now, but then it's sold in Sweden under the Centrum name, which was a long-standing Swedish radio manufacturer. So what I think I'm going to do is that there are 2 electrolytics that I can get at fairly easily from the top side of the board. So I'm going to fairly crudely stick them in, I think, and see if that solves the problem. If that does, then the question is whether I leave them that way or whether I try to get the boards out, which I've got to say I was a bit scared of looking at it the last time. So that's pretty well all I'm planning on doing today. There are, if memory serves, 2 electrolytics that I think I can replace that way, so let's have a look. Okay, so we've got it open. I noticed when I was taking it apart this time that plastic on the bottom of this case is failing quite badly. I hadn't noticed that last time. A piece on the edge just broke off. So the 2 electrolytics that I was thinking of trying to do something with are this one here and that one there. This is the FM tuner, that's the AM tuner. It looks like most of the FM tuner electronics are enclosed in there. This is the band switch and associated stuff, and this is the audio amplifier over here. With some pretty good-sized transformers in there. It seems a little overkill. And then on this side over here, which you can't see very well, is the power and I/O board. So removing this board to get at the back does not look easy. And I'm really quite reluctant to do so. What I thought I might do is try to test both of these in circuit to the extent that might work, and then take it from there. So I think that's what I'm going to do. We'll just use this little meter here for that. And we'll see whether we have any luck. If we have something, I mean, I can't even really read that very well, or haven't, probably could, but I need to have a look around the other side. But if we get anything that's remotely reasonable, then I think we can assume that they're okay. And the problem with this one is I can't get at the bottom of it very well. This one here I can. So let's see what we can do. We'll just push this wire over a little bit. I can't, so I'm looking at this capacitor here. I have the meter on capacitance. And over there, is that on camera? Sort of. And we'll just see if we get something remotely reasonable. I'll try it both ways since I don't know what the polarity is. We'll try the other way around. I don't know, that doesn't seem very realistic to me. Let's try this way again. Millifards. I really don't think those numbers are remotely reasonable. Because that's 3,000 microfarads. And that, not a chance, right? And, 8,000 microfarads, not a chance. So we're getting some interaction from the other circuitry in here. And from this one, maybe the outer case is the other. Yeah, I can't get at the bottom of this. So apart from that, we have, oh right, there's one more in here. We have this one. Since I have trouble measuring this, but it is trying to get the right the right range. Yeah, nothing there. So I don't know. I really wish I could get that board out, but I just don't see how you do it without taking this whole case apart. And that ends up with problems of, this dial cord goes all the way across. So if you take this bottom off, well, maybe if you undo these two screws here, maybe this tilts up. Let's find out. I need a smaller screwdriver than that. This makes me very nervous. So there are tabs that hold this board into the bottom here, and screws that attach it to something. I want to be very careful about dropping things into this cabinet. And there are all sorts of fine inductor wires and stuff in here. No, let's not be an idiot, and let's get that out of the way over there. Okay. So let's see. Does this? That gets that off. Doesn't remove this, but. Oh, okay. Wait. We may have some luck here. Okay, with that up, then it looks like those two screws may get this board out. Okay. Let's see if I've got a nut driver that fits them. Nope. Okay, we will be back with more tools. So what's really weird is that they're 7/32. They aren't a metric size, which one would have thought for a German radio. I note that there's a serial number. So that one has a washer, and the previous one did not. Presumably they should both have had washers. Okay. What else is? So I think the trick with this is to pull it forward. Maybe push the tabs in. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now I'm up against the speaker here. I can't go any farther. So what I'm going to do is, there are some tabs under here that have been bent up. I'm going to bend them back. Like that, just to give me a little bit more room to pull the board out. That's presumably. The other thing is it's all, can I take this? Yes. There's also this plug here, but that looks like it's part with a single screw here. Okay, is that? Oh, is there another one? There's another one down here. Okay, this is going to drop a nut off the back. Just looking up at my camera to see if I've turned it on. Can't really. Okay, there's the screw. Presumably the nut is now going to fall down the back somewhere. Yes, it has, but I can see where it is. There we go. Okay, so we'll put that on the screw here for safekeeping. There is not a lot of wire length from board to board. They did not make this easy to repair. I mean, we could slide these out here. Okay, that helps. And there's a little clip over here and a ground link with a resistor on it. Okay, are we now going to be able to see the back of this board? Maybe. Yeah, this is quickly getting into more than I want to deal with. But I could desolder this one. All right, let's consider that. Let's use a color that doesn't mean anything so that I can mark. So this is green, right? And I'm going to mark green here so that if I desolder this, I will know what I'm dealing with. I'm sorry if the mic cable was in the way. It's not very well rooted today. I should say I'm recovering from COVID, so I'm not. Oh, that's just the meter wanting to shut off. Nope. Okay. Okay, that came off easily enough. Lots of heat in this at the moment. We'll just see. Okay. So let's see what this is supposed to be. 70 volts, 2 microfarad. Okay, so let's test this. That'll give us a pretty good idea of the health. I'm looking for my tester. Okay, let's test that one with this tester here, and hopefully that will give us some idea of the health of the other electrolytics in this radio. We know that some of them at least are good enough that it kind of mostly works on FM anyway. So I always forget to open that. All right. What do you think? Well, it's not a capacitor anymore, according to the tester. It is a piece of wire. So it's shorted entirely. So the real question with this is now going to be, oh, so we know plus plus is nicely marked there. So I'm now going to go through my selection of capacitors and find a replacement for that. Oh, minus, plus. There's no reason for it to be 70 volts since this thing never sees more than 12 or 14, I suppose. Let's see what I got. Well, I went through my collection of capacitors and I found a Nichikan 2.2 50 volts. That should be fine. We determined that green here is in fact plus. So this is going to go this way. Oh. And I will need to desolder this, or maybe we can do it the lazy man's way. Yep. So I'll have to get over on the back somehow and solder those on. Okay. Just let me find, oh, there's the solder. Once again, I'm having microphone cable problems. One of these days I will purchase a wireless microphone. I've got to say, I really can't see what I'm doing on the bottom of this board. That's really not good. Oh, that's better. Okay, you guys absolutely can't see what I'm doing. But I will probably cut this out, therefore. You know what I could do is desolder these connections here, probably. Okay, so I'm going to do that because I can't see what I'm doing here. So we'll mark red there, and I'm going to desolder that and this, which I'm presuming are the audio outputs. And now I can actually see the bottom of the board. All right, there we go. And then just out of curiosity, let's put this back on into capacitance. And let's just test this capacitor right here. Yeah, there's too much other stuff in the circuit for that to work. Okay. So we've got one capacitor changed. I'm going to try to get all three now that I can get in. Now that I'm into the, got the board kind of accessible. So it's going to replace, this is a 4.7 here. I can now read it. That's, I see how they've got that one done. That's a 4.7. That's 125 volts, but I can't read what it is. I can lift one of the legs. they've got some of the leads kind of folded down here. Not the greatest. Anyway, I'm going to shut off the camera because this is fiddly and I don't want to screw it up. So I'm going to try to change that one, and that one. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a transistor. Don't know what that is. Try to have a look at what that is. And I can see another one over here. So, you know, that's what I'm going to do. So I've changed this capacitor. I lifted this one, but it tested okay when I had it out and put it back. And I don't think it's an electrolytic. I think it's some sort of polycapacitor. It looks like there's wound up stuff. And this one also is in the nanofarad range, so I'm not going to touch it for that. And I think these probably as well. And the only one that I think is probably an electrolytic is that one there, and of course this blue one. But there are a number of blue ones like that in, say, this output stage, and it seems to be working, so maybe they're okay. So now that I've changed the easiest capacitor, I'm tempted to check it. That one was a dead short, and could definitely see why that would be a problem. So let's give it some power and turn it on. So that's FM. FM is still working. Well, that's better. Okay, so we've got some volume out of medium wave, which was what we weren't getting before, but there's now no signal. So this one looks like it might have been in the end of the signal path. Well, let's look at the one that might be in the beginning of the signal path, which is over there. So I will desolder these once again. And then we'll see if I can get at that capacitor back in there. I do wish I could get at the back of this board more easily. If I could, I would just change any electrolytic and call it a day. But anything that looked remotely like an electrolytic and call it a day. But that's the one I think I'm going to concentrate on. Let's see. Is it the same as this one? It sure looks similar. Let's just see if I can get at it and see what's going on. Okay, I got that one out. It's 5 microfarad. I don't know if you can see that there. 6 to 8 volts. I don't understand the voltage ratings, but whatever. So I'll replace that with a 4.7 25 volt Nichicon. And yeah, we'll do it like that. That'll be just fine. So one thing that I've noticed as I've worked on this is that they bent a lot of the lugs over, a lot of the leads over, I mean, when they when they built it, which is not helpful for us later on. All right, let me just shut this off and I'll get that soldered properly. Okay, so we've got a new 4.7 in there. Well, a 2 and a 4.7, well 2.2 and a 4.7 since we're using contemporary, well, our values, modern values for those as opposed to the originals. And I just want to see, oh, you know what I should do is I should test this one that I just took out just for completeness. So five. So let's get it in here. It's still a capacitor, so it's got that going for it. All right, just before I do anything else, let's get power on this and see if there's any change in behavior. Right. I hadn't quite realized how sketchy that power cable was. So let's put the amplifier back on. I knew I was forgetting something. Okay, let's try again. Oops. If we go into FM, still working. So what we've got is we've got an attempt to do something on the part of the radio. It's now getting closer, but it's not tuning. Actually, in a way that makes me wonder around about the band switch. But I'm going to change the last electrolytic here, and I'll pull these wires off once again. Well, and change that last electrolytic capacitor. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so what I've done is I've replaced this capacitor, and this one. This one improved things in the sense that we got some audio output from this board, but that's it. These two don't appear to have improved matters significantly. So I've got to admit, this is kind of beyond me at this point. So what I'm going to do is put it back together. I will have another look at the schematics and maybe get back to this project later, because I don't want to do any more damage than I already have poking around with this. I've already got the pointer on the AM dial has slipped. I think that's just going to be a question about putting it back. You can see they've got them right near the end, and there's no kind of adhesive on there, so something moved and held it when I was moving stuff around in here, unfortunately, and that's what's causing the problem. So I've got to say, at the moment, this is not a successful repair, but I am fairly pleased that I was able to get those capacitors easily enough. There is, well, this one that I checked, which doesn't seem to be working. Yeah, so I'm not really sure what else to replace on this at the moment. So we'll just leave that for today, and maybe we'll come back to this project again. So at some point with these sorts of repairs, you have to figure out that you're operating above your pay grade, and you just need to put it aside and let it sit until you know what you're doing, or think you know what you're doing with it. I do want to just try this last capacitor that I took out. We haven't tested this one. Can I make it fit? Maybe. That's what I'm looking for. Anyway, I've got to say I wasn't really expecting to succeed at this. I kind of think that this is a multi-part project to get done. But it's clear that it is possible to disassemble this radio. It's just a question of a lot of patience and keeping track of a lot of screws. So the funny thing about this one is it's not bad. It's fine. Right? 180 microfarad. It's supposed to be 200, I believe. It's fine. That's why changing it made no difference. Interesting. Well, I've got this Centrum radio back together apart from putting the back cover on. And I probably won't show that. I haven't shown getting every fiddly screw into place on this thing. But what I thought I might talk about a little bit is, this is a failed repair. I didn't succeed in repairing this. And I think without an ESR meter for the capacitors, I'm not going to. So this will probably get put aside as a project for a while. But what represents a failed or successful repair? I mean, I did manage to get the board out and replace 3 of the capacitors, and that worked okay. And apart from having slipped the dial pointer, which I think will be easy enough to fix, there are 2 screws that look like they removed the faceplate, and that should give me access to the dial pointer. And then once it's working, we'll just tune it to a station and readjust the dial. That'll be straightforward enough. I didn't damage the dial cord, which is the big deal here. So the point is that a fairly complex thing was opened up. I opened it up. I worked on it and managed to do a few things. I didn't succeed in repairing it, but I didn't make it worse, and I did, in some ways, improve it. So that's good, right? And at some point when you're not an expert at these things, you should put aside a project and wait until you can work on it, until you feel ready to. And I think for this one, I think an ESR meter for capacitor hunting is probably going to be the key. I suspect that there's another capacitor possibly on that board, but possibly not. I'm looking at this here on the band switch board, which is this board up there, although I think that's one of those weird I'm guessing poly caps, and maybe some of those are bad, and maybe they should be changed too. There's some more of those sorts of things here. So another look at the schematics, possibly the addition of a tool to my arsenal, and maybe now that I've taken this apart partially, I can start to see how it comes together a little better. For example, I can see that to get the front faceplate off, it's really just one screw here, and a similar one on the other side. And that might make it a fair bit easier to work on. I think the knobs come off fairly easily. So I'm going to put that aside. This project will sit for months until I have the tools and feel comfortable working on it again. All right, thank you.